Hi, everyone. My name is Elise Mann. I'm the Senior Manager for Global Wash with IDE Global. For those of you that don't know us, IDE Global delivers products, services, and market ecosystems through human-centered design and research to solve everyday problems in local communities. Today, I get to share on behalf of my colleagues in Cambodia about some key lessons that we've learned thinking about climate resilient wash and specifically sanitation. So first, about a month ago, I was with some colleagues in the Tonle Sap Lake region of Cambodia. This is the largest. This is the largest lake in Southeast Asia that's freshwater, and families are deeply affected by and reactive to in relationship to the environment. While we were there, this is the flooding that we saw. Lots of houses that were partially, if not fully, submerged, and there's a road that in non-flooded seasons runs along the electrical wiring here. Everyone I talked to said that the flooding was much worse this year than it had been previously. And even those that did have the ability to invest in sanitation products that were designed to be a little bit more climate resilient, some of them were still unable to access that latrine because of how severe the flooding was. So IDE is committed to creating safe sanitation across rural Cambodia. Over the past decade, we've facilitated the sale of over 400,000 toilets in Cambodia. When we started, only 29% of families had a toilet in the areas where we work. Now, nearly 80% have a toilet. But that creates some new problems for us. First, with the coverage, rapid increase in basic sanitation coverage, that has created the urgent need for fecal sludge management. Second, around 25% of Cambodia's population is deeply impacted and lives in challenging environments. So we're talking about heavy rainfall, flood prone, other barriers around high groundwater. And that makes it really difficult not only to think about FSM, but just reaching those that still need sanitation. With our program committed to building climate resilient sanitation across Cambodia, we've been doing a lot of research to understand how we need to pivot our program to really address the central challenges for climate resilient sanitation. So quickly today, I'm going to talk to you about two pieces of research that we've done on understanding how people's behaviors around flood impact their sanitation use and their FSM. And second, I'm going to talk about subsidies that we've been testing with a focus on climate vulnerability. So IDE designed and conducted a fecal sludge management study in partnership with our partners at the University of Colorado Boulder and asked households around their FSM practices and decisions. And then we overlaid historical data around flood events from 2011 and 2013 to see the relationship between climate vulnerability and household sanitation behaviors. What we found is that living in flood-prone areas leads to more frequent pit fillings as well as challenges with latrine functionality. Household size was also seen to contribute significantly to challenges with latrine functionality. And frequent pit fillings and challenges with latrine functionality often leads to unsafe FSM practices, which, as we heard from Juliet, leads to many challenges and public health gains. And second, coming back to this issue of inclusion and equity, we've had the opportunity to conduct research in understanding the effectiveness of a mechanism to target climate vulnerability for sanitation access. So we designed a subsidy mechanism, tested it through a pilot, and then over the last 7 months, from January to August of this year, have tested through an RCT if the mechanism is working. This image here is of our sky latrine, which is one of two options offered through this subsidy RCT as a technology for households to invest in. So what we found is that subsidies do make a substantial role in a household's decision to invest in sanitation. We worked in 30 villages across Kampong Chhnang from this year. Over half of the households in the treatment group were eligible for a subsidy, and that's significantly higher than the 25 to 30% that we expected as the project team. The high-level takeaway is where subsidies were offered, 22% of all households purchased a latrine. Without a subsidy, that number drops to just 7% of households electing to purchase a latrine. Further, we found that the subsidies really encouraged families to invest in that sky latrine, which is a much more affordable, a much more expensive product, but much more appropriate as a technology for flood-prone areas. And so what we've learned and how this is impacting our programming. So first, flood-prone areas are really have the ability to exacerbate unsafe FSM practices. And the links between sanitation behavior and climate change validates the need for behavioral interventions. Yes, of course, infrastructure is important and technology is important, but so too is that behavioral focus. We know that the affordability of sanitation continues to be a challenge and a barrier to adoption in more challenging environments, which includes flood-prone areas and heavy rainfall. So to reach everyone, we need to be really creative to think about how we are actually going to address that equity issue. And eligibility criteria for targeted subsidies should go beyond poverty to include climate and socioeconomic vulnerability. And our sector must develop and really invest in practical methods that identify and target household level vulnerability to climate change. And that's the household level here, not just village level, because of such intense variability that can exist at the village level. And as so many people have already said, talking about the importance of bringing others in across silos, is in order to reach everyone, we really need to deepen and apply evidence to develop sharper strategies to address the intersection between SDG 6 and SDG 13, which is why we're all here today. So thank you so much. Here's some QR codes for additional readings. And we'd like to thank everyone who's been involved. We've got a couple of copies over on the side table of some of the research that we've talked about today. And our targeted subsidies research around climate vulnerability will be released hopefully early next year.